Everything you flush ends up in a place like this, and then a few hours later it goes into a river. Look at the plant that does it, and you will notice something odd. There is almost nothing in it that looks like a machine. Some screens, some round tanks, one big rectangular, one full of churning water. No filters worth the name. I'm Alex, and this is Unseen Systems. The reason there is no filter is that the thing being removed cannot be strained out of anything. It has to be eaten, because sewage is two different problems in one pipe. There are solids, and those you can catch or settle out with gravity. And then there is everything already dissolved, organic matter genuinely in solution, where no screen fine enough exists, because there is nothing there to catch. That dissolved fraction is the one that kills a river by feeding things in the water that then use up all the oxygen. So the front of the plant is the easy part. A bar screen takes out the rags and the wet wipes. A grit chamber slows the flow just enough that sand and gravel drop out. That is there to protect the pumps downstream from being sandblasted. Then a big round tank where the flow is slowed almost to a stop for an hour or two, and whatever is heavier than water goes to the bottom. Necessary work, but the dissolved problem has passed straight through all of it, untouched. Which brings us to the tank that does the actual work, and it is not a reactor. It is a container of living bacteria, billions of them per litre, held there deliberately and fed. The incoming sewage is the food, the air bubbled through the floor is so they can breathe, and the brown, churning liquid that results has a name in the trade, mixed liquor. Then everything flows into another round tank and is allowed to go still, so the bacteria settle out of the water they have just cleaned. Clear water leaves over the top, and the sludge on the bottom, this is the part almost nobody knows, is mostly pumped straight back to the front of the aeration tank. Only the surplus is taken away. The plant is not disposing of that biology, it is keeping it. After that there is usually one last step before the water reaches the river, disinfection, to deal with what is left of the organisms that came in with the sewage rather than the ones the plant has been raising. But notice how late that is and how small a part of the building it occupies. By the time the water gets there, the hard work is done, and it was done by something that was alive. And on the returning of that sludge, the Pennsylvania Environment Department's training manual for plant operators is not optional.
Some sludge must always be returned to the aeration tanks to maintain an adequate population of organisms.
And once you notice that, the whole vocabulary gives the game away. The strength of the incoming sewage is measured as its oxygen demand, and the manuals call it the food. The mass of bacteria in the tank has its own abbreviation, and the manuals call it the organisms. And the ratio between the two, how much food per unit of bacteria, is the number the operator watches all day. Food to microorganisms, it is a stocking rate. A paper given at a United States Environmental Protection Agency conference for plant operators does not hedge about what the job is.
One definition of a wastewater treatment plant operator is a bug farmer, one who controls the aeration basin environment to favor good microbiology.
So if it is a farm, the interesting question is what the farmer is actually managing, and it turns out not to be growth. Remember that the bacteria have to be got back out of the water at the end, and the only tool for that is gravity. They have to sink. Individually, they will not. They only sink when they clump together into lumps, and they only clump when they secrete a sticky layer that cements them to each other. And here is the condition under which they do that.
Flock formation occurs at lower growth rates and at lower nutrient levels, essentially starvation or stationary growth conditions.
Starvation, the bacteria only make themselves removable when they are going hungry. Feed them properly and they grow fast. Stay separate, refuse to settle, and simply leave with the water. The effluent turns cloudy and the plant has failed while looking perfectly busy. But starve them too long and you get the opposite failure. The lumps come out small and weak, under 50 micrometers, and the slightest surge in the tank breaks them up and floats them out. Plants differ, operators differ, and the numbers move with every hour's flow, heavier in the morning, thinner at night, and different again when it rains hard enough to dilute the whole city at once. The two ditches stay exactly where they are, and the operator drives between them all day. which means this plant fails in a way that no other piece of municipal equipment does. It does not break. The livestock dies. Something arrives down the sewer that the bacteria cannot survive, and the examples in the literature are almost aggressively ordinary. Washing out a cement or lime truck into a manhole, congealed diesel tipped down a drain, a small works taking a load of septic tank waste it cannot dilute. And the smaller the town, the worse it is, for a reason that is almost unfair. A big city's flow dilutes anything that goes into it. A village's flow does not. In one study of 25 plants in Colorado, around 1 in 10 had a toxicity upset in a single year, and the problems clustered in the small systems. And then comes the part that makes recovery so slow. Kill most of the population and the sewage keeps arriving at exactly the same rate, so the survivors are suddenly swimming in food, which is the first failure from a moment ago. Too much food, no clumping, nothing settles. The plant does not simply pick up where it left off. On the way back it has to pass through a second failure, and it cannot be hurried because what is being repaired is not a machine. It is a population, and populations only grow at the speed they grow. Meanwhile, the town upstream carries on flushing on exactly the schedule it always did, because nobody there has any way of knowing. Follow the pipe that goes backwards, and the building rearranges itself. The interesting thing about a sewage works is not that it cleans water. It is that the cleaning is a byproduct of keeping something alive, and that the plant's real output, the thing it protects and returns and counts every single day, is the population itself, because the water only leaves clean as long as the herd is the right size and slightly hungry. The concrete is just the barn. So the odd thing about the least glamorous building in your town is that it is the only piece of infrastructure that can starve. Somewhere near you there is a tank of bacteria being kept deliberately hungry around the clock, so that they will stick together well enough to be scooped out of your drinking water's river. Walk past a treatment works sometime and listen for the blowers. That steady low roar is not machinery doing the cleaning. It is somebody's livestock being given air. Thanks for watching.